Lolita was a half-elf except for her pointy ears. She was literally no different than an ordinary human. She was born in a village that was later destroyed by war, and from that devastating night, she was the sole survivor. When she finally regained consciousness, the city of scholars Erudicio welcomed her with warmth, passion, and freedom that protected her like a beast of steel for the rest of her life. Later, Leviathan Workshop took her in. It's the center of applied technology in Erudicio, where the dreams of all scholars were realized. If the Spire of Knowledge was the brain of the city, then the workshop was the heart, supplying the blood of technology to the entire city. Though the fancy concepts and odd-job craftsmen had little to do with Lolita, she occupied herself with as much as she could each day. And even when the tasks were dull and insignificant, she would still give her very best. Occasionally, she'd stare with fascination at the blazing red Numenon energy core, the precious Starlium reactor, which was also the power source of the workshop. It wasn't just any ordinary workshop furnace, because it also served as the power generator for Erudicio. And as long as it remained burning, Erudicio would never stop advancing. Lolita lived in the workshop, and the warmth of the blaze had always accompanied her to sleep. Every time she recalled the night when the war broke out, the souls of the dead would always let out a painful wail that haunted her. And whenever this happened, a large and impenetrable figure of steel would always stand before her, leading her to the warmth of Erudicio. Though Lolita couldn't remember his face, she clearly recalled that he had an unknown marking on his back that resembled a tree. So, Lolita concluded that it must be a tree that grew in the desert, and that the tree served as the hope of an oasis ahead. But when she learned that it was the symbol of the Erudicio Rangers, Lolita made up her mind to join them and protect the city as they did. So she to train herself. And it took her exactly 49 trials for her to finally accept the cruel reality that she wasn't good at fighting. Her gentleness proved a disadvantage on the battlefield. She wasn't able to maneuver freely and repel the ruthless and destructive attacks. And even the shield magic from her elven blood didn't make her a more intimidating opponent. She looked at her small, thin arms that couldn't even lift the slightly larger hammer. That was her a chunk of low grade ore that probably didn't contain any iron in it. She sighed deeply, disappointed in herself for having no talents whatsoever. She thought that since she didn't have the talent, she'd make up for it with time, but fate never waits for anyone. Late that night, Lolita was awoken by an explosion, and she saw the workshop go up in flames. An unidentified enemy had launched a surprise attack. Fierce gunfire broke out everywhere, and though all defense machinery was activated, they failed to repel the enemy's invasion. The guarding craftsmen covered Lolita and retreated to the core, the last line of defense. If the Numenon energy core is damaged, the consequences would be unthinkable. Suddenly, Lolita saw her past flash before her eyes. It was as if she was back in her childhood village lit up by war. The same moans of pain, the same helpless eyes, and the same weakness that required protection. Sorrow, guilt, cowardice, anger. A mix of emotions surfaced, but her body froze. Sure enough, a low-grader like her will never become steel. She became determined and looked into the still blazing core. Is there really no way to make steel without iron ores? There is. The element of iron can be found everywhere in nature, but is only revealed under extreme heat. Can you bear it? Wordlessly, her body started to move. Everything around her stood still. The sound of gunfire, explosions, and shouting faded away, and there was only one target in her eyes, the Numenon energy core. No matter the cost, she will protect this land. Suddenly, a blinding light shot straight up into the sky, and that was the flames of life. After an indeterminate amount of time, Lolita struggled to open her eyes, and standing in front of her was that tree, the tall figure. What did I do? Lolita mumbled. You touched the core with your bare hands, and it's a miracle you're even alive, said the man with awe. The surging energy of the core penetrated your body and miraculously activated the shield magic in your blood that protected the workshop. You saved us, and you deserve to be recognized for your courage. As the captain, I now welcome you to the Eruditio Rangers. But I'm weak, and I don't know how to fight. Fighting is not the only way, because protecting is equally important, and we need you. After saying that, he turned around and walked out the door. Don't worry about the rest. He smiled and said, Eruditio is a place where miracles happen. With the technology of Eruditio, Lolita was given a mechanical glove with great powers. The workshop even crafted a sledgehammer for her from a fragment of the Numenon energy core, a symbol of the workshop's will and an affirmation of her courage. Since the core was integrated with elven magic during the invasion, she could now work with it effortlessly. With the courage to use her body as a shield, Lolita became a member of the Eruditio Rangers. Though she was the youngest, she took good care of everyone, and whenever danger arose, she'd always rush to the front lines. So, are you still curious as to how steel is made? That's no longer important, because her courage and gentleness have become stronger than steel, forever protecting the city.